I'm going to go over a goal setting technique that you can use with your young athlete. Hey there, I'm Eli Straw, mental performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. Now, there are two types of goals that young athletes can set. There are outcome goals and there are process goals. Now, both have their place, but we want to make sure that the young athlete truly understands when to use which type of goal. So an outcome goal is a goal that is going to be focused on the outcome. Now, the outcome is going to involve anything that is the result of their game, the result of a season, or, honestly, if we shoot very long term, the result of a career or the result of multiple seasons. Now, an outcome goal is going to have many different benefits, but I would say probably the major benefit that an outcome goal is going to have for your younger athlete is giving them direction and motivation. A really good example of this is a young swimmer that I'm working with, and she has the outcome goal of making it to the Olympics. Now, she's a pretty young swimmer, but even at her young age, having this idea of wanting to make it to the Olympics, it gives her that direction, and it gives her motivation for where she wants to go. Another example is a golfer that I've worked with, and he was honestly struggling with feeling like he didn't have a lot of direction. He wasn't sure where he wanted to go within his sport, but he wanted to. He wanted to have that really good direction. So we worked together on figuring out, okay, what is going to be this strong outcome goal that's going to push you through training and make it more exciting for you to train. And that's another aspect of this for younger athletes is we want this outcome goal to be fun for them. We want it to be exciting. We don't want it to cause any sort of stress for them within their game. Now, that can actually bring us to one of the negatives of outcome goals, which is some anxiety and fear. And this happens if the young athlete begins thinking and focusing too much on outcomes when they actually play. Now, we want to be very careful with outcome goals. They need to be set at the beginning of a season or, for about 6 months to a year in advance. But we want to make sure that the young athlete is not setting outcome goals for games. Now, here's why we don't want them setting outcome goals for games. Because let's say that, that young swimmer example, we'll go back to that example. Let's say that she sets the outcome goal of getting a specific time for this race. One of the things that I've seen happen time and again is that when the young athlete's mindset is focused too much on, getting a specific time or getting a certain amount of hits or scoring a certain amount of points, it actually serves as a distraction and it keeps them from focusing on the small aspects of their game that are going to help them get that outcome. So not setting outcome goals for games and not focusing too much on outcomes for games, it honestly has nothing to do with them wanting or not wanting to play well, but it has everything to do with what's going to help them play well. And specifically, what's going to keep them from feeling too anxious, nervous, and afraid when they play. Because with that younger swimmer, one of the things I've also seen with other young swimmers is that when their attention is too much on what's my time going to be, or I need to get this certain time, or even I hope I don't increase my time for today's race, it leads to stress, nervousness, and anxiety before they actually race, which ends up holding them back. So with these outcome goals, they're going to be more long-term, and they're just for motivation, kind of having that direction and excitement. The second type of goal is a process goal. Now, a process goal is actually kind of focused on that outcome goal, but it ends up being the steps that they need to take to reach that outcome goal in the first place. So if we have a long-term goal again of swimming in the Olympics, the process goals are going to involve, steps that will help them get there, but they're also going to be more focused on what do they need to be doing in practice? What do they need to be doing during, going into meets in order to help themselves perform their best and keep getting better and better? So process goals are going to be much more, actionable. They're going to have everything to do with what are you doing today? What do you want to focus on for today's practice? What do you want to focus on for today's game? Now, a goal setting technique that I encourage you to walk your young athlete through is one where they set this outcome goal for themselves. So that will be step one. They set the outcome goal. And then what they do is they start to backtrack and think, what are all the steps that I need to accomplish? What are the things that I need to be doing during practice? What are the things I need to be focused on during a game or during a race or during a meet that are going to help me perform my best and help me keep getting better and better and better? Then what you can do is you can start getting them to set process goals for practices and for games. Now, these process goals that they set for practices and games, they're going to involve the process of their game, but you want to make sure that they are 100% controllable. So I'll go back to that swimmer example. The process goal that we set for her was to focus on swimming efficiently and strong. What this did was during races, it helped her focus on herself, her technique, and what she could control. But if we're talking about practice process goals, that's where we can get a little bit more specific and detailed in terms of, what are you wanting to work on today? So an example for a golfer might be, your process goal today is going to be to focus on my speed with my lag putts, right? And that's just going to help them have that really clear idea of what they're working on that day. So kind of as a brief summary of this idea of outcome versus process goals. An outcome goal is much more long-term. It helps with motivation. It helps with direction. Process goals involve actions. What are they going to be doing today? What are you going to focus on for practice? What are you going to focus on for games? That's going to, one, help you improve. But two, especially if it's a game, what's going to help you perform your best? Now, in addition to setting these types of goals, another key aspect of getting your athlete to be mentally tough is going to be self-confidence. So what I've done right here is I've linked another episode that goes into detail on how you can help your young athlete develop self-confidence. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new episodes each week on helping your athlete become a mentally tough kid.